Okay. Welcome back, Very Intentional fam. I'm your girl, Aaliyah, the Very Intentional Mama, who is healing intentionally and taking you on this journey so that you can know that your story matters, your healing is possible, and you're exactly where you need to be. So, there is this word that has been coming up often around me in my personal life throughout the Healing Takes a Village Summit, and I had the opportunity to break it down with one of our speakers. So go ahead and check it out. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I want to say thank you so much, Destiny, for joining us today. And before we get started, of course, the golden question: what kind of
Mhm.
mama are you?
Ooh-wee. I am there's a lot of things that makes up the kind of mom that I am. I am first I'm married. I am a homeschooling mama of 3. I have a 11-year-old, almost 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So I have all types of situations happening over here. I'm also a mom that is very intentional with how I am raising my kids, not just academically, but raising them to uh, be men and women of God, and that their foundation is firm in God and also in community and family, and learning how to love each other, and in legacy, and not just financial legacy, but understanding their value, raising them to be leaders, be confident, and really showing up in a world where there's a lot of insecurity, a lot of things going on that is not good. It's not a good look. So I do take my responsibility as their mom very seriously, in ensuring that they get a strong foundation all around.
Mm. So there's two questions that are floating around in my head, and I think we're going to lean towards this one. So, in a
Okay.
world where there is so much going on that's against our values as Christian moms, as Christian women, how do you raise up kids to go be out in this world, especially as y'all are a homeschooling family? And we know that homeschooling looks different than public school. In public school, they are around a lot of kids who have very different backgrounds that are probably not being taught the same thing as them, but they're in homeschooling. And so, like, just shine some light on how you're raising them to be able to go out into the world and deal with things of that nature.
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that comes to mind is I have to be intentional with my relationship with God, because as I, tell you all in my business that I'm the foundation, so if I'm not being an example of what it looks like to have a relationship with God, then I can't expect them to even desire one. As someone who grew up in church, there's a difference between, being in every service and participating in this thing and that thing. There's a difference between that and having a personal relationship with God. So I do encourage them to have their own relationship, to be in their own Bible. We do make that a integral part of our homeschooling process, but not just that, like our regular conversations. Everything is not churchy, but I talk to them a lot. I'm very intentional also about communicating with them and explaining that, this is why we do some things. Sometimes we have to refer back to the Bible as the reason why. Sometimes it's, well, you can see why when you look at, other situations or other families or things like that, you can clearly see, why your father and I make the decisions that we make. And I think communicating with them makes the world of a difference, because especially with at least some of mine being very um analytical at times, it allows them to understand for themselves why we are doing what we are doing. And I think it's important to do that, because then when they do get old enough to like start being around other, teenage years, and I can't micromanage every part of their life. They are taught to make decisions for themselves based off of, their values and their beliefs and not what society is telling them to do. And I think for our generation, a lot of us got caught up in what society was telling us, and we still do. I mean, social media is a big example of us, following trends and doing what everybody is telling us to do. And I am a huge component of explaining to them that just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that it's right for you. It doesn't make the other person wrong, depending on the situation, but it may not match your core values and your beliefs. And that's what every decision should be based off of. But it is very difficult because they're kids, so they want to do what they see a lot of times. Um, but yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
It does, and I was gonna say that's like that's such a difficult thing when it gets to the part where, they see other people doing it and they're like, okay, well, why can't I? So like for example, I
Mm,
have a friend who we've been like doing life together a whole lot more lately. And
mhm.
so our kids are around each other basically every single day.
Yeah,
And so her kids eat a lot of sugary stuff and
mhm,
my kids don't. And
yeah.
so there are times when like they bring out their snacks and I'm like, they can't have that, baby. And so like I have mine looking at me like, why
But
not?
why?
But this is a moment so where as you said, being intentional and teaching them like, baby, we don't eat that stuff because it has a lot of sugar, too much sugar. It might feel good at the moment, but
Yeah,
you get real hyper and then you're gonna crash out and then you don't feel well at all. And so
yeah,
like that is a part of teaching them. And this just made me think of Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should
yeah,
go, and when he gets old, he shall not depart from it. So like you were saying, you have a almost teenager. And so she is getting to that point because I read somewhere, heard somewhere,
yeah.
some years back that once a child turns the age 13, you no longer are teaching them. You are now just like their
Mhm.
person to go to kind of vent. Like they don't necessarily want your advice,
Yeah, yeah.
but whatever you have taught them before those years is now going to come out in these teenage years.
Yes.
So I think that's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's important. I'm glad you said that too, because I think a lot of the times when moms are healing while they're raising the kids, what most of us are, we often forget that we are the example. So when you're choosing not to uh, make those decisions or you're trying to be their best friend instead of their guide, we don't even have to look at it like we have to be the drill sergeants, but we're charged with being their guide, or else God would not have given them to us. So realizing that, oh, snap, I actually only have about, 11 to 13 years to pour into them so that they can make those decisions themselves is really important. And it helps us to hold ourselves accountable too. Like, I can't spend those 13 years just, doing whatever. And then when they start going out here and getting into stuff, now I want to be a helicopter parent because how dare you? Like, no, that there's a foundation that needs to be set. And if you didn't do that, of course, you're gonna have to encounter some situations that you might not have wanted to, but it starts when they're younger and it starts with you.
Mm. Woo! Okay. We are getting deep into some of the things that we will be talking about in the Healing Takes a Village Summit because this is what it's all about. Yes,
Mhm.
as parents, we are still healing once we have our kids. Majority of the time, we
Yeah,
realize that we need to heal once we have our children because our children bring out things in us. And it's like, where did this come from? It was buried
right.
deep down, and you got the blessing of your child to bring it out. So now that we are talking a little bit about some of the things that we're going to be targeting in the summit, the first question I have for you about your presentation in the summit is this title. Okay. So this title, her title for the summit is When She Heals, Her Whole House Does Too, creating a
Mhm.
circle that supports your growth. And so I just want to know, where did this title come from? How was this title birthed?
Mm. It came from my own personal experiences, my own personal journey, and that coupled with, what I help walk you guys through in mom school too. It's realizing that if I continue down the path of perfection, if I continue isolating myself, if I continue giving into my insecurities, then it directly impacts my children. And um, in the speech, I remember briefly mentioning how I can't show up, to church every Sunday. And I tell them, oh, we do this because, the Bible says that we're supposed to commune with each other and we're supposed to, be in community. We're not supposed to do anything alone. But at the same time, right afterwards, I just stay in the house all the time. Or I choose not to engage with anybody else because I feel like I have to do everything by myself, or I don't trust anybody. I don't want to, implement the rhythms in my day-to-day life so that I have time to actually connect with other people. I can't continue to do that and then still tell them like, oh, you need community, you need to have friends, you need like it all goes hand in hand.
Mhm.
So that's the gist of where the title came from,
Mhm.
because once we as the foundation realize that it starts with us, then it directly relates to our kids. I can't expect my kids to want to value friendship and community, the right ones, if they never see me do it. And the reason why I started therapy, the reason why I push as hard as I do business wise, the reason why I show up the way that I do is because I know that my children are watching me. And it was like a light bulb that went off one day. I can't expect them to do what I'm not doing. I can't tell them you have to obey God, because I'm teaching them how to have that godly foundation. You got to do what God tells you to do. And yet I'm like, he also told me that I need to let people know when I need help, but I'm not. He also, told me to start this business or this community or show up at work or whatever he's asking you to do, but I don't. And we don't realize that like our kids are actually watching us closer than we think.
Mhm. Oh, girl, real all up close to personal, all in the bathroom,
All
covering
in it.
everything that you're doing
Right.
personal.
Right. So imagine if they feel comfortable enough to follow you in the bathroom, they're watching what you do and what you do not do, what you pray about and what you're not praying about. They can hear in those nightly prayers that you're like, God bless us, God cover us, God do this. But as we're teaching them that decisions have consequences, we're not giving them the benefit of the doubt and realizing that they're going to put two and two together. Mommy is
Mhm.
asking God for this, but I'm pretty sure it requires her to do some stuff. It's literally all intertwined, and I can't wait for the day that moms really realize that it's connected and it starts with us. So that's where the title came from.
I love that. And there's this word that I feel like keeps coming up in many of the interviews in the summit, and it's trust.
Mm,
And so I know I have a lot of people who say, I just don't trust people.
yeah,
And so they don't want to open up to people because they just don't trust them. And I know it's hard because we all had experiences where a friendship didn't go the way that we thought it was supposed to go, or a family member, a parent bailed out on us in some type
yeah,
of way, abandoned us, whatever the case may be. But how can we grow in community, which we actually need to get anywhere in this life, if we
yeah.
continue to believe the lie of I don't trust people?
I agree. I
And
agree. Go ahead.
oh, 'cause I feel like you're gonna say it anyhow. So take the floor.
I think trust is an emotion in this sense, and we cannot rely on our emotions. I think the title of the summit, Healing Takes a Village, meaning that you don't actually have to do it alone. You just may have to find a different village.
Mhm.
There are multiple things in life and in motherhood that we try again and again and again. But when it comes to friendships or trusting God, it comes to a lot of things. We do it once or twice and then it's like, I'm done. But you actually can't be done with people. That's unrealistic. But you can do what you and I have both done and asking God to send you the village that He needs you to have in this particular season. And also understanding that sometimes the seasons change and so do the people around you, and that's okay. But it also is something else that you have to be a good example for with your children. Like, they're naturally going to have to deal with that, whether they're in school, whether they're homeschooled. This grade, you have this group of friends, and the next year you might not have that same group of friends, and it's natural. You don't want to teach them like, oh well, everybody in the fourth grade sucks. Like, that's unrealistic. You teach them, okay, well, find another friend, and then we
Right.
become adults and we don't do the same thing. So I think that trusting in God, that He's going to give you what you need, and also being able to trust yourself, to open up and be vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you have to like tell all your business all the time. Like, you still got to understand that different relationships are there for different reasons, but
Yes.
be open enough to just say hi if you see another mom in the store or in the library, and not so closed off, because
Mhm.
closed mouths do not get fed. And I can say, with you and I specifically, if we were like that, we wouldn't have the relationship that we both had, and we would not have had the growth that we both had in the short amount of time that we've been friends. And
Right.
you are able to grow together with the right village, and possibly grow and higher. The same thing with like marriage. These are all relationships.
Right.
Yeah, you can't shun some and accept the others. That's not how that works.
No, that's definitely not how that works. Yes, I thank you so much for sharing that answer because, like I said, it's been coming up a lot, and I've just been hearing it a lot lately where people are like, I don't trust people, I don't like people. And I'm just like, in order for you to get out of the situations that you're in, you have to open yourself up. And
Yeah,
like you said, it's not a matter of, okay, I'm going to tell this person everything it is to know about my life. No, you have to have discernment and
yeah.
listen to what God is telling you. Maybe this person, there is a friend that I used to have, and oh, she would say the same, that sometimes you have friends for a reason, a season, and it was
Mhm.
something else. But that's all it is that
Yeah,
some friends who are there for a lifetime.
yeah,
Then you have some friends you're just meant to be in each other's life for a season. Maybe there was a lesson that God needed to teach them or teach you through your
yeah,
friendship, and that's it. Sometimes it's just for a quick little reason, not even a whole friendship. You just needed to see this person, see how they move, and then keep going on about your business. But
yeah,
that's all to say that you don't necessarily have to go full blown detail about your entire life with people to trust them.
yeah.
You just have to be willing enough to open up your mouth.
I agree. God uses people to give us what we're asking Him for. He doesn't always just drop it off out the sky. Like, He uses people to minister to us. He uses people to move us from one place to the next. He uses people to encourage us. So if we are rejecting people, then in a sense, we're also rejecting God and what He may have for us. And it could be the very thing that you're praying for that is
Mhm.
supposed to come through a person that you refuse to allow in your life.
Whew. If
Yeah.
y'all know about the story of the man in the boat, the fisherman in the boat,
Hmm.
I might insert it in here later on in the after we're done with our interview. But long story short, God kept sending this man all the signs. He gets to
Hmm.
heaven and he's like, God, why you ain't help me? He said, I sent you a boat, I
Yep.
sent you a ship, like I
Yeah.
was sending you all these things, but because it wasn't what you wanted it to be,
Yep.
you kept blocking your blessing.
Yeah. It goes back to that trust. You're not trusting that God is already providing you with what you're asking for.
Whew. Okay.
Mm.
So I got two more questions for you. The
Okay.
first question being, so I know you said that so you have to, if your village that you currently have
Mhm.
isn't working, then you find your new village.
Yeah.
But what would you say for the people that like the village they currently have, maybe it's people that they don't know how to break away from?
Mm.
what would you say for those people who are like, I want to get around other people, or I want to know, like, I'm having a hard time getting like over the hump to come
Mhm.
out of this? Like, what would you say for those people?
I would first ask you why you feel like you need to leave that particular set of people. Is it everybody? Is it one particular person? Because you have to know your why behind anything that you do. Any decision, there has to be an understanding as to why you're doing it, or else you won't do it. So if it's like a toxic friendship or relationship, you have to understand that it's toxic. You have to understand that I need to get away from it because of this, and this, and
Mhm.
that I value myself more than I value this particular relationship. I value where God is trying to take me more than I value the comfort that I feel right now in this moment. But once you understand that, I think it's important to pray, like we were saying, that God shows you, what your next step needs to be, and also be comfortable in the waiting season. We often are just so eager to rush into the next thing, and I'm guilty of it too. It's like, well, I stopped talking to them now. Can I have a new friend tomorrow? But there may be a period where God is trying to work on you, because every faulty relationship is not all the other person. Sometimes it's us too, and maybe in that season, God is trying to work on those parts of you that He needed to work on, and that's why y'all maybe needed to separate in the first place. Um, and then just trust that he will send you who you need. And it may not happen overnight. It may not be like, oh, I have this whole new influx of friends, because you still, like you said, have to have discernment. You still have to um, be willing to be vulnerable as well. But understand that it's a process. I think all of that wrapped into one answer would be that it's a process. And trust yourself, and trust that God is going to give you what you need. And it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person because friendships fall off. You could just be in a different season. And that's always going to be better, especially if it's God that's telling you, to go in a different direction. It's always going to be better than what we currently think that we have. And oftentimes, those people that He is trying to lead us to are going to help us in that next season. So if we keep holding on to what He's already told us to get rid of, we're just standing in our own way.
Ooh.
You ain't
All
even.
right, y'all hear it. Trust, trust in God first, so that you may be able to trust in the people that He's bringing into your life.
Mhm.
Stop standing in your own way. If you had one thing that you wanted the mom on the other end of this screen to walk away with, what would that thing be?
Hmm. One thing I would say, one thing is a lot, because there's so many things coming to mind, but I I would
Look, top
remind
three.
her, no, I would remind her that if she is watching this, it's because there's something in her heart. There's something that drew her to the summit, to your page, to this conversation, that it's okay for her to sit with and acknowledge, and she doesn't have to rush past it like something that has been said or will be said during the summit does not impact her.
Yeah.
Sitting with it, asking God what He wants you to do in this particular season with whatever pricks your heart, and trusting that He's going to be with you every step of the way, whether it's us talking about community. I know some of the moms are going to share their own personal experiences, whatever it is that you're going to hear that's going to prick your heart, allow it to, because this isn't just a regular summit. This is a God ordained, it's a ministry. So everything that is said, God already knows that it was said for the people who are going to be watching it. So whatever is going to be said is going to be something that is needed. So allow it to do what it's being sent to do.
Amen. Again, thank you so much, Destiny, for joining us today. It was very beautiful just to really open up and talk about this conversation. Like I said, some of the things that we spoke on is I've been hearing it a lot lately. And I know if I'm hearing it with you, there are many moms out there who feel the same way. So if you have listened to this conversation and you're like, I need more of that, go ahead and join us at the Healing Takes a Village Summit happening November 11th through the 13th. You can grab your ticket in the description below. We are breaking up with identities that no longer serve us. They never served us to begin with.
I did it.
Rebuilding our foundation with God and community and being poured back into as mamas because we can't pour from an empty cup. So
Yeah.
until then, we'll see y'all.
Bye.